Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the Absolute, you have the Deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders.
Hello everybody, my name is Dom of X. Today we're going to be taking a look at the conceptualism of existentialism in pure comic book format by Grant Quietly and Grant Morrison. That is Flex of Mentallo, Man of Muscle Mystery. Let's get into it. Alright everybody, I am Dom of X, comicreleases.com associate editor, near mint condition manager. Today I have the pleasure of showing you all the deluxe edition of Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly's Flex Mentallo. I have a lot of thoughts on this book that are more about the ideas overall than the book itself, but I'm going to get into that in just a short bit. This overview is going to be more, like I said, conceptual than it is about the plot of the book, because this is, I think, one of the most out there Grant Morrison titles, but nonetheless, we're going to be taking a deep, at least look at the book first, and then I'm going to go through because this isn't a particularly large collected edition. On here is the front of the book, which does have the DC Black Label logo on it. This was previously Vertigo. This is an all mature title. I was going to say all ages. This is definitely not a book that you should give to kids. Although I will say that if you understand this as an adolescent, I will have more respect for you than, I guess, otherwise. I don't know where I was going with that. But nonetheless, this is a DC Black Label title. You have the DC Bullet logo featured there instead of the Timeless Rebirth logo that we've been having. But that has been the standard for all DC books. On the spine case, we do have the logo that is featured in this book by the company that is in the pages of Flex Mentallo. With Frank Quietly and Grant Morrison. You have a little pinup of the head of Flex Mentallo on the spine, and then the DC Bullet logo here on the side. On the backhand side, we do have the grotesque art of Frank Quietly with saying, "You buy this comic now or the earth is doomed." Maybe the earth will be doomed if you don't buy this comic. This also has the ISBN and blurbs that you usually get on the back. This is what the inside of the flaps look like. You do have the synopsis there on the left, although it's very much less of a synopsis and more so of a pitch for the book. And then on the right hand side, you do have the creator bios for Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly. And if I can help it, this is what the inside of the... Actually, no, this is the design of the deluxe edition itself. And from what I can tell anyways, it does appear to be glued binding. It opens up to a middle portion of the book, which I do find interesting. There is a lot of glue on that binding. This was printed not at Salisco, but I will get to that in a moment. So let's talk about the Macho Man who has no toxicity in him. All right, let's go ahead and take a look inside the Flex Mentallo Man of Mystery Deluxe Edition. This is a $29.99 book featuring, of course, the 4-issue miniseries with extras in at the back. A very particularly large comic book, as all of these issues are just 24 pages each. Here you have all the art illustrated by Frank Quietly, of course, with Peter Doherty on the colors, Grant Morrison on the script, and Ellie DeVell as the letterer. On the left-hand side, you do have the copyrighted material information, editorial information, and everything else that goes along with that. This is printed in Canada, with the transcontinental integral. And I find that interesting because the pages are just a tad bit thinner than I am used to on these DC Deluxe editions. So this is interesting because the first thing that we get here is a brief history of A Legend in Briefs, which I originally thought was an introduction by somebody who is perhaps special to the creation of this book, maybe an introduction by Quietly, Morrison, whoever it might be, maybe somebody who has read either of their work. This is actually an introduction that is set inside of this book. So it is an introduction to the set of events that will happen in this title and the history of Flux Mentallo, not in our world, but in the world of the DC universe. Flux Mentallo was created by Grant Morrison and Richard Case in the pages of Doom Patrol, and that's how they made their way over here. But I actually find this interesting for two particular reasons. One of them is that Flux Mentallo, or this specific book, was not allowed to be reprinted by DC because of a lawsuit. Atlas Comics, which sued DC back a couple of decades ago, said that DC Comics ripped off one of their backup pages, or backup comic strips, which featured a couple of hot guys on the sand on the shores. And DC said, no, we didn't, but because of the lawsuits, they couldn't. They could not reprint this. So the riffraff up until a couple of years ago, where we finally properly got a reprint of this deluxe edition, and of course, Flux Mentallo in all of their glory. But anyways, even disregarding that feature, a lot of this inspiration actually do stem from those Atlas comics, regardless of whether you appreciate the story material in here or not. And I'm going to keep it brief because it took me 3 reads to actually get through, I think, what Grant Morrison was trying to say. But regardless, this story actually doesn't... It has Flux Mentallo, obviously, in it, but the context, I think, is wider in aspect. And this is what I mean by that. This story really revolves around a metahuman who is a writer, and their name is Wallace Sage. Wallace Sage was also in Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol run. Wallace Sage creates this character called Flux Mentallo to sort of reprieve a lot of the depression and the anxiety that they have been getting in their life. What happens because of that? This is a way for them to express themselves and try to remove these stains that are going on in the rest of their lives. And really what we do get to see here is the way for Wallace to figure out how can I get out of the hole that I've been in and I've been stuck in for the last couple of years. I'm also going to say it, there are panels in here that I probably should not be showing, and I will probably be skipping through because there are orgy scenes, but nonetheless, this is really a series, I think, about finding freedom. This is a way for Grant Morrison to express that maybe the creativity that was being shown in the Silver Age, the early Bronze Age, a lot of that was starting to not wither away, but as the comics readers got older, there were less opportunities for a lot of these stories to be written. And this is actually also in part of why I don't have as much fondness for books like Spawn, books like Savage Dragon, and I don't want to rag on them, but I do think that because this was published in 1996, Grant Morrison was looking at a lot of those comics saying, is this really the best that we can do? There are multiple panels in this book where the narration is talking about superheroes used to save the entire Earth. What about the one time that we stopped the world so that we could save one person? What about the one time where we went to this one far-off galaxy and found a way to beat these existential bad guys? And I find it interesting to see that this was essentially Grant's letter in 1996 saying, is this the best that we can do in the comic book genre? This is really an opening for them to say, it's time to break out and actually express that creative freedom. And I think that's what Flux Mentallo brings. This really is a story about the existential freedom in this 4-issue series and how to find it. Can you find it past the pages that you are given? And what better way to do it than those two creators? Pretty short pitch, but nonetheless, this is a very short book. And I do think that this is really Grant's. Again, this is their letter saying, we as creators can do better. And anyways, speaking of creators, Frank Quietly has their entire sketchbook section here in the back. There are puzzles for you to solve in this specific comic book. There are also, at least in the back matter, you have spread pages and also process pages from Frank Quietly, who I think did a masterful job illustrating this book. And that, as I say, is that. Now, if you're looking to flex on people with Flex Mentallo, please check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And that is going to be it from me. I am Dom of X. Let me know in the comment section down below if you enjoyed reading Flex Mentallo, if you are looking to buy this book, or just want to look at the nice Frank Quietly art. That is it for me. I am Dom of X. Please stay safe. You be you. Take care wherever you are.